Buying a newly built house is supposed to be the ultimate American dream. But for some highly entitled homeowners, it quickly turns into a ridiculous nightmare. People will literally pay $500,000 for a custom home and then completely lose their minds over basic physics, normal weather, and their own terrible decisions. Here are 55 of the most absurd, rage-filled, and flat-out hilarious complaints home builders have ever received from totally unhinged buyers. 1. A Texas homeowner furiously called their builder because the living room gets too bright in the evening. They specifically demanded massive west-facing picture windows for the sunset views. Now they are completely outraged that the actual sun is shining directly onto their 70-inch flat screen during primetime television hours. They literally demanded the construction crew come back and physically rotate the entire house 15 degrees to fix the glare. 2. Safety sensors are legally mandated on all modern garage doors. A wild daredevil dad left a raging one-star review because his builder installed annoying safety features. He was incredibly mad that he could not hit the button and do an action movie slide under the closing door without it automatically stopping. He demanded the crew remove the optical sensors so he could freely pretend to be a secret agent in his own driveway. 3. A guy proudly purchased a standard new build with a 2-car garage and immediately filed a formal grievance with the state housing board. His main problem was that his 2 severely lifted dual rear-wheel pickup trucks could not fit inside simultaneously without ripping the side mirrors off. The blueprints clearly stated the exact square footage, but he claimed the builder engaged in deceptive marketing because a 2-car garage should naturally accommodate a pair of personal monster trucks. 4. Imagine demanding a fully finished basement and then being completely shocked that it sits below ground level. A couple in Ohio screamed at their project manager for weeks because their new subterranean game room did not have enough natural sunlight. They requested floor-to-ceiling windows to be installed immediately. The contractor had to patiently explain that doing so would just provide them with a stunning high-definition view of compacted dirt and earthworms. 5. Paying $30,000 for custom dark oak floors seems like a massive flex until you unleash 3 giant Great Danes onto them. A homeowner sent a highly aggressive email demanding a full refund because the premium hardwood was instantly covered in scratch marks. They genuinely believed that spending more money on wood magically altered the laws of physics, making it completely immune to unclipped dog claws acting like ice skates. Have you ever completely ruined something expensive 5 minutes after buying it? 6. Sometimes people want an aesthetic so badly they completely forget how actual weather works. A buyer in Arizona specifically bullied the design team into installing matte black roof shingles to match their ultra-modern exterior vibe. By mid-July, they were writing raging complaints to the corporate office because their second floor felt like a dry sauna. They accused the installation crew of sabotage instead of accepting that they essentially wrapped their desert home in a giant heat-absorbing frying pan. 7. Deciduous trees are a beautiful addition to any suburban backyard until the actual season of autumn arrives. A furious homeowner in Pennsylvania demanded his builder pay for a professional cleaning crew to vacuum his entire lawn every single day in October. His bizarre complaint stated that the trees were dropping messy brown leaves all over his pristine grass. He genuinely believed that premium landscaping packages included trees that were genetically modified to stay green and lush all year long. 8. After spending top dollar to upgrade all interior walls with solid core brick and heavy soundproofing materials, a tech bro buyer went completely nuclear. He spammed the builder on social media claiming the house was defective because his high-speed wireless router could not penetrate the bunker he forced them to build. He expected the general contractor to somehow override the physical properties of solid concrete and metal just so he could scroll through videos in his master bathroom. 9. Moving from a tiny apartment to a 2-story home brings surprises, but this lady took it to another dimension. She called the emergency maintenance hotline at 2 in the morning in an absolute panic. Her terrifying emergency was that she could hear water rushing through the walls whenever someone flushed the toilet upstairs. She demanded they invent completely silent pipes, totally oblivious to the fact that gravity and water naturally make a sound when dropping 15 feet down a plastic tube. 10. Keeping your heavy plastic trash cans inside the garage is a standard neighborhood rule, but it comes with a very obvious side effect. One homeowner in South Carolina complained to the builder that his garage smelled like garbage during a 100-degree heat wave. He aggressively demanded the company install a dedicated industrial ventilation system just for his trash bins. He genuinely could not comprehend that rotting food in a hot enclosed space will naturally create a bit of a stink. 11. A furious buyer in Florida left an unhinged voicemail for their builder because the neighbors kept staring at them during dinner. They aggressively demanded an immediate replacement of all their living room windows. The project manager drove over and discovered the family had not bothered to buy a single curtain or blind. They genuinely believed that standard residential glass magically turned invisible from the outside. Would you ever walk around in your underwear in a glass box and blame the construction crew? 12. People absolutely love the majestic look of towering 10-foot ceilings right up until it is time to actually walk upstairs. One extremely wealthy buyer in Georgia threatened to sue her architectural firm because her custom staircase had too many steps. She specifically requested extra tall ceilings on the main floor to create a grand entryway vibe. Then she was totally outraged that basic geometry forced the builders to add 4 extra wooden stairs just so she could safely reach the second level of her own home. 13. Building a luxury wooden cabin right on the edge of a protected Florida swamp sounds highly romantic until Mother Nature actually shows up. A retired couple sent furious daily emails to their home builder because regular swamp frogs kept sitting on their back patio. They aggressively demanded the construction crew return immediately and install some kind of invisible sonic perimeter barrier. Do you really think a local builder should ever be held legally responsible for the natural behavior of wild amphibians? 14. Choosing your interior wall colors from a tiny paper swatch almost always leads to absolute aesthetic chaos. One guy completely lost his mind when his freshly painted living room looked baby blue instead of a moody cool gray. He aggressively accused the local painters of swapping the premium paint buckets just to save a few dollars. The project manager had to literally hold the tiny paper swatch against the wall to prove it was a perfect match. The guy simply refused to understand that giant fluorescent overhead lights drastically alter colors. 15. Standard residential plumbing connects the main toilet supply line directly to regular cold tap water. An outraged woman submitted an aggressive warranty claim stating her master bathroom was a completely unlivable nightmare. Her big issue was that the porcelain bowl felt a little chilly when she sat down during the night. She furiously demanded the builder rip open the walls and connect her toilet straight to the hot water heater. 16. Have you ever been personally blamed for exactly how fast water naturally travels through a very long metal pipe? One luxury buyer built a sprawling 6,000 square foot ranch and purposely placed the water heater on the far east side. He soon called the plumber, screaming that it took a full 30 seconds for hot water to finally reach his master shower on the west wing. He furiously demanded they crank the baseline water pressure to a highly dangerous level just to avoid standing naked waiting for his morning rinse. 17. Carefully placing standard electrical outlets according to extremely strict building codes means absolutely nothing if the homebuyer lacks basic common sense. One incredibly angry woman demanded a complete electrical remodel of her entire living room entirely for free. Why? Because the massive antique armoire she recently inherited perfectly covered up the only 2 power outlets on that specific wall. She honestly believed the master electricians should have psychically predicted the exact physical dimensions of her bulky vintage furniture. 18. Right in the middle of a massive spring thunderstorm, a heavily panicked homeowner called the emergency warranty line claiming their brand new roof was severely leaking outside. The poor contractor immediately rushed over in the pouring rain, only to discover the metal downspouts were shooting water into the front yard exactly as originally designed. The homeowner was completely furious, loudly insisting that expensive premium gutters should somehow invisibly absorb the rainwater instead of aggressively spitting it out onto their pristine concrete driveway. 19. It definitely takes a completely massive ego to buy a newly built 2-story house and complain about the pre-existing neighborhood. a wealthy tech buyer in Seattle, actually tried to force his local builder to pay for a brand new roof for the older house right next door. His formal written complaint stated that looking down at his neighbor's ugly faded shingles completely ruined the premium aesthetic vibe of his master bedroom. He seriously thought his housing contract included mandatory cosmetic upgrades for totally unrelated neighboring properties. 20. Perfectly polished wooden stairs look incredibly sleek and modern, but they often come with a hidden daily danger. A furious dad left a scathing one-star review claiming his builder intentionally installed slippery indoor death traps. It turns out his teenage kids were repeatedly sprinting down the freshly waxed hardwood steps while wearing thick wool socks. He angrily demanded the crew return and coat the pristine wood with heavy industrial sandpaper. Have you ever blamed a trained professional for your own completely ridiculous household mistakes? 21. Understanding architectural blueprints is a specialized skill that not every single home buyer actually possesses. A very angry couple in suburban Maryland dragged their project manager into the brand new downstairs powder room and threw a massive fit. They fiercely demanded to know why the construction crew completely forgot to install a bathtub. The builder had to gently explain that a half bath literally means just a toilet and a sink. They honestly thought the phrase meant the bathtub was just going to be 50% smaller than a regular one. 22. Moving from a small apartment into a 5-bedroom mansion is a massive lifestyle change that some people are just not prepared for. A wealthy buyer in California called the sales office crying because her new house was too hard to keep clean. She aggressively argued that the builder was negligent for making the house so large that she could not vacuum the whole thing in under an hour. 23. Installing motion-activated security lights is a great way to save energy until you realize you actually have to move for them to work. A very angry tech executive in San Francisco submitted a ticket claiming his smart office was haunted. He was absolutely furious that the lights kept turning off while he was sitting perfectly still staring at his computer for 3 hours. He seriously expected the sensors to detect his thoughts instead of his physical presence. 24. Integrating smart technology into absolutely everything is the current unhealthy obsession for new suburban builds. A furious millennial buyer spammed a development company with terrible online reviews after a heavy summer storm knocked out the local power grid. His major grievance was that his fancy wireless smartphone garage door opener would not function without electricity. He furiously accused the company of installing cheap junk motors, completely ignoring the basic fact that internet routers require actual power to send a signal. 25. Everybody claims they desperately want a massive chef-inspired kitchen until they actually have to navigate around it daily. A highly demanding client ordered a gigantic custom granite island specifically designed to fit 8 heavy bar stools. 6 months after moving in, she screamed at the design team because she was exhausted from walking all the way around the massive stone monolith just to reach her own refrigerator. She seriously wanted them to cut a permanent walking path straight through the middle of her expensive granite countertop. 26. Suburban residential driveways are typically built to standard municipal slope codes, which is totally fine unless you drive a highly modified European sports car. A very wealthy doctor in California absolutely lost his mind when his luxury vehicle scraped its front bumper on the concrete curb transition. Instead of accepting his car was simply too low to the ground, he demanded the developer petition the city to tear up and completely repave the entire public street just to match his personal driveway angle. 27. Modern custom homes often have multiple light switches in one panel to control different zones of a large room. A totally overwhelmed buyer in Nevada filed a formal warranty claim stating his electrical system was a complete psychological disaster. He was furious because he could never remember which switch operated the ceiling fan and which one controlled the recessed lights. He actually expected the builder to pay for a personal assistant to come over and label every single switch in his house. 28. Signing an overwhelming stack of closing documents means most people never actually bother reading the strict community rules. A completely outraged buyer painted her brand new front door a vibrant neon pink and instantly received a massive fine from the local Homeowner Association. She furiously drove to the builder's sales office demanding they pay the penalty out of their own pocket. Do you really think a construction company should have to legally defend your terrible aesthetic choices against a community board? 29. Real natural building materials will always behave exactly like natural materials no matter how much cash you drop on them. An ultra-rich buyer in New York formally complained that his solid oak flooring made a very slight creaking sound when the dry winter humidity dropped. He accused the master carpenters of using cheap nails and demanded they rip up the entire first floor. The poor site manager spent hours trying to explain that dead trees naturally expand and contract with the weather, but the buyer just insisted on having silent wood. 30. Figuring out basic cardinal directions should probably be the very first step before buying a premium piece of real estate. A furious woman absolutely berated her builder during the final home walkthrough because the morning sun was not shining into her beautiful master bedroom. She had purposely chosen a specific floor plan on a lot that faced straight west, and then got violently angry at the contractor for the literal rotation of the planet Earth. Have you ever witnessed someone get legitimately mad at a local business over how the solar system operates? 31. New concrete almost always develops tiny hairline cracks as it cures and naturally settles into the dirt. One absolutely hysterical homeowner in Ohio called their builder threatening to bring down the local news station. They spotted a microscopic surface crack on their brand new driveway and genuinely believed a massive sinkhole was forming. They aggressively demanded the crew bring in heavy machinery to completely demolish and pour the entire concrete slab again. The contractor had to patiently explain the basic chemical process of curing cement. 32. Plumbers constantly warn people about the massive dangers of flushing anything besides toilet paper down the drain. A highly educated lawyer in Boston completely destroyed the plumbing in his newly constructed luxury bathroom within the very first month. He furiously blamed the building company for installing defective pipes when his toilet violently backed up. It turns out he had been flushing hundreds of heavy-duty cleaning wipes down the drain every single week. He seriously expected standard residential plumbing to easily digest an endless daily diet of thick synthetic fabric. 33. Putting an extremely hot charcoal grill directly against the side of your house is a terrible idea for obvious safety reasons. A furious dad in suburban Michigan threw a massive temper tantrum when his premium vinyl siding warped and melted into a weird plastic puddle. He sent aggressive legal threats to the construction company, claiming they intentionally used incredibly cheap and highly flammable exterior materials. He totally refused to take any personal responsibility for literally slow cooking the outside of his own house with a massive open flame. 34. Recessed ceiling lights provide a really clean and modern look, but they naturally shine directly downward. A local beauty influencer absolutely lost her mind during her final walkthrough in a gorgeous new California build. She aggressively complained to the lead architect that standing directly under the kitchen lights gave her face terrible dark shadows. She actually demanded the electricians come back and angle every single ceiling fixture so she would constantly look perfectly illuminated for her social media videos. Have you ever blamed an entire house for making you look bad? 35. Most modern homes feature double-pane glass that is specifically designed to be highly energy efficient. A highly aggressive woman in Nevada called the window manufacturer, screaming that her house was broken because her cell phone signal was slightly weaker indoors. She demanded they replace every single window with old-fashioned thin glass from the 1950s. She was willing to pay double for her air conditioning just to ensure she could scroll through social media on her toilet. 36. Energy efficiency is a huge selling point for modern homes, which means exterior doors are sealed incredibly tight to prevent drafts. A furious older gentleman in Arizona submitted dozens of formal warranty claims stating his brand new front door was entirely defective. His core issue was that he had to physically push the door firmly to hear the deadbolt actually click shut. He totally ignored the thick rubber weather stripping designed to keep his expensive air conditioning inside the house. He literally wanted the builder to rip out the insulation so his door could swing completely freely. 37. Buying a house with standard builder-grade appliances means you usually get a basic recirculating exhaust microwave over your kitchen stove. a highly aggressive homebuyer called the warranty department, screaming that her kitchen was actively blowing toxic fumes directly into her face. She turned on the exhaust fan and was absolutely shocked to feel air blowing out of the top vents. The poor technician had to carefully explain that unless she paid extra to vent the air through the roof, the machine simply filters the cooking smoke and blows the exact same air back into the room. 38. Moving from a heavily insulated concrete high-rise apartment complex into a standalone suburban house brings a lot of new environmental noises. A totally bewildered couple in Oregon wrote a scorching negative review claiming their new custom home had a severely defective roof. Their completely absurd reasoning was that they could clearly hear raindrops hitting the top of the house during a heavy storm. They honestly expected the construction crew to somehow install a perfectly soundproof barrier that would magically silence the heavy physical impact of a massive atmospheric river. 39. Window screens are specifically designed to stop giant flying insects from entering your home while still letting fresh summer breezes flow inside. A completely unhinged buyer in a dusty Nevada suburb demanded the home builder replace every single window in his expensive new property. He was incredibly outraged to discover that microscopic desert dust particles were easily blowing right through the tiny square holes in the mesh. He somehow expected standard cheap bug screens to magically function like advanced hospital-grade air filters while leaving his windows wide open all day long. 40. Building a house on a steep hill provides a great view but also means your driveway will have a natural incline. A furious man in Colorado sent an unhinged legal threat because his heavy trash cans kept rolling down into the street on windy days. He blamed the paving company for not making the asphalt sticky enough to hold plastic bins in place. He actually expected the builder to fight against the literal force of gravity just for his personal convenience. 41. A completely furious homeowner in a freshly cleared subdivision demanded absolute magic from the landscaping team. They marched right into the sales office screaming that their newly planted maple tree was only 8 feet tall. The glossy promotional brochure clearly showed a model house nestled among massive 100-year-old oaks. They genuinely expected the general contractor to somehow source, transport, and successfully transplant an ancient enchanted forest onto their tiny dirt lot overnight. 42. You cannot buy a massive open concept house and expect it to sound like a professional recording studio. A young couple angrily reported their builder to the housing authority for creating a defective echoing environment. The supervisor visited the giant 4-bedroom property and found absolutely zero rugs, bare walls, and a single plastic lawn chair in the living room. They literally expected the basic drywall to magically absorb human voices instead of buying actual furniture to fill their massive empty spaces. 43. Getting locked out of your own house is incredibly frustrating, but usually entirely your own fault. One guy stormed into the sales office screaming that the front door was a total safety hazard. He had stepped onto his porch to grab a package, the door closed behind him, and the auto lock engaged. He violently accused the company of installing dangerous trapdoors. He seriously expected the builder to invent a smart lock that psychically knew he was only stepping outside for 5 seconds. 44. Moving to a freezing northern state means you eventually have to buy a heavy snow shovel. A totally enraged homeowner from California called the builder's emergency line after their very first winter blizzard. Their massive complaint was that thick snow had completely covered their brand new front driveway. They screamed that premium poured concrete should naturally generate its own heat to melt the freezing ice. They literally expected the general contractor to magically override the basic seasonal weather patterns of the Midwest. 45. Federal mail carriers have extremely strict rules about exactly where community mailboxes must be placed in brand new neighborhoods. One very lazy homeowner practically declared war on his developer because the clustered mailbox was located at the end of his street. He fiercely demanded the construction crew rip it out of the concrete and replant it directly next to his front porch. He simply refused to accept that local home builders have absolutely zero legal authority over the United States government. 46. Natural stone countertops like marble or granite are incredibly popular because they look stunningly expensive. One extremely entitled buyer in Georgia left a scathing one-star review because her kitchen counters were cold to the touch in the middle of January. She aggressively demanded the builder come back and install a custom heating system inside the solid rock slabs. Do you think some people just lack the basic understanding that stone is naturally a cold material? 47. Shuffling your feet across thick premium carpet in the middle of winter will obviously generate a tiny static shock. A totally hysterical dad called the local building inspector, claiming his brand new floors were highly electrified and incredibly dangerous. It turns out he was aggressively pacing around his bedroom, wearing fuzzy wool socks. He completely blamed the construction team for his poor footwear choices and demanded they magically ground the soft nylon fibers. Have you ever blamed a house for basic static electricity? 48. Hardwood floors are famously smooth and slick, which is exactly why people pay massive upgrades to get them. A very angry guy filed a formal grievance because every time he sat at his home office desk, his rolling chair slowly drifted backward. He aggressively accused the crew of building the entire house on a severe tilt. The contractor simply placed a level on the floor to prove it was perfectly flat. The guy just had extremely oiled wheels on a premium wooden surface. 49. Dropping 15 grand on a massive commercial gas range is the ultimate luxury kitchen flex. However, a self-proclaimed master home chef in Chicago filed a massive official complaint stating his builder designed a totally defective ventilation system. His main issue was that boiling huge pots of water on 6 giant burners at the exact same time made his entire kitchen feel incredibly hot. He genuinely thought the general contractor could magically delete the intense physical heat generated by an actual open indoor fire. 50. One furious buyer in Florida left a scathing review because her new house lacked acoustic privacy. She practically tortured the architect to remove every single load-bearing wall on the first floor to create a massive entertaining space. Fast forward 3 months, and she is threatening a lawsuit because she can hear her husband chewing potato chips in the kitchen while she tries to watch television in the living room. 51. Buying a massive corner lot gives you incredible amounts of premium outdoor space. However, one completely furious dad in Ohio submitted a formal complaint demanding the builder take half his yard back. His ridiculous reasoning was that pushing a heavy lawnmower across the extra grass was cutting into his Sunday football time. He genuinely expected the development company to somehow legally alter the neighborhood property lines, just so he could do significantly less weekend yard work. 52. Everyone demands massive floor-to-ceiling windows to flood their living room with gorgeous natural light. A wealthy buyer in Arizona got exactly that, and then aggressively threatened a lawsuit 6 months later. She was absolutely irate that the harsh desert sun had naturally bleached her expensive dark velvet sofa. She violently accused the glass installation crew of failing to invent a magical transparent window that somehow entirely filters out the actual power of the sun. 53. Upgrading to a massive walk-in master closet is usually a huge selling point. A very angry local influencer completely lost her mind when she ran out of hanging space just 3 months after moving in. She practically screamed at the project manager, claiming the house was structurally shrinking. She completely refused to accept that her daily online shopping addiction was the real problem. Would you ever blame an architect just because you own way too many designer winter coats? 54. A homeowner in a brand new coastal development filed a massive formal grievance because the ocean was too loud at night. They specifically paid extra for a beachfront lot to hear the waves, but then complained the rhythmic sound was preventing them from falling asleep. They actually demanded the builder construct a temporary soundproof seawall every night at 8 in the evening. 55. Living right next to a massive, beautiful lake usually means occasionally dealing with the local wildlife. One extremely paranoid homeowner wrote a scorching email to the corporate office because seagulls kept landing on his brand new metal roof. He firmly insisted the construction crew intentionally used a highly magnetic building material that specifically attracted wild birds. He violently demanded they come back and install giant spiked nets just to keep basic nature away from his house. Home builders clearly deserve some kind of hazard pay just for listening to this ridiculous nonsense. What's the silliest complaint you've heard about renovating your own home or someone else's? Drop your wildest stories in the comments below. Smash that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable facts.